The following is a thesis based on scientific fact. Actual studies on the subject may or may not exist. Hey guys, welcome to the Polka-Dot Squad and another Temporal Insanity. Of course, I'm Temporal Enigma. And today we're going to be talking about you. Will there be a clone of you in a couple million years? Or maybe a couple hundred years? Who knows? So the following is a thesis that I came up with one day because I'm bored and I think about stuff like that. As we all know, humans are made up of DNA. Actually, all living things are made up of DNA. DNA defines what a living thing is, right down to how it acts and how it reacts to objects, and how the brain emits certain chemicals. So, after diverging through all these species and subspecies, humans share about 98% of DNA, give or take. Now, this DNA, that 2%, still has billions and billions of combinations. Because DNA is made up of C's, T's, G's, and A's. All of these represent a different type of part that the DNA is made up of. Now, these can be arranged in almost infinite number of combinations. But when you actually bring it down to humans, there's very little combinations left. So what happens when the combination comes back again? Let me show you a picture. So up on the screen right now is a picture of a genome. This is the lateral version of DNA. Each dot represents a different number or letter, an A, C, G, or T. And what you're going to see is there's many dots, many variations and things being pointed out. But a change of environment can adjust, or just through random coding, can adjust just one of these dots, making that a different person. Now you may think, well, wait a minute, aren't identical twins the same people? No. Identical twins think, act, and react similarly, but think, identical twins aren't 100% identical. They always have some off factor. Maybe one doesn't like music. Maybe one has bigger teeth than the other. Even though they were grown up in the same home and probably treated the same way, they act and look differently, even though they are pretty much the same. Well, this has to do with a slight change of environment. While fetuses are in the womb, you can tell that they're actually slightly apart, even though they're in the same general region. For example, if one's on the left versus the right, even though they're in the same egg, they're experiencing slight different environments. Now, these environments are extremely small, but they can be enough to change just one of those dots. Now, one of those dots is a different person. But that begs a question. There's only so many combinations. Yes, these combinations are billions, possibly trillions, but what happens when the same combination comes up again? You'll basically get the same person. Now, it is true that somewhere in the world there is probably someone that looks almost exactly like you, because the part of DNA the person that you see, such as eye color, hair color, height, build, etc., is the same, but the release of brain chemicals, how quickly they get excited over something, how emotional they are, how strong they can become, that's all different. But again, what happens when the DNA is exactly the same? Essentially, you've created a clone naturally. Now, these could take millions, billions, trillions of years to come up, but it's got to happen eventually. I mean, like I said, there's only so many combinations. If you were to find this baby that is exactly like another person, so let's say we go millions of years in the future and we find my duplicate. It is a baby that is born with my exact DNA down to every little last dot on this picture. It's me. Now, here's the problem. It could grow up different than me because it's placed in a different household, learns different rules, etc. But if you were to place those babies in And if you were to take that, let me rephrase this. If you were to take that newborn clone of me, go back in time, take my newborn baby, place them into a room where they'd be nurtured and cared for by, let's say, a robot, until they were old enough to interact with each other, let's say 1 to 2 years old, and you place them in a room and watch them, they would react almost exactly the same, because they've grown up in the same environment, they have the same DNA, and most likely they'd act not almost, but exactly the same. They'd talk in the same form of baby language, they'd use the same hand motions, and essentially baby sign language, and they'd seem to like and laugh or cry or etc. the same way that the other does. So that's just something to think about. So I hope you enjoyed this episode of Temporal Insanity, and thanks for watching. Later, guys.